We finally got a new update about Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse straight from one of the voice actors, and it's not the news any of us want to hear, so we need to talk about it, plus what it means for the release date of the film, because I think we finally have a good idea of when we're going to get this thing. This official update comes from the voice actor of Miles Morales, but not Shameik Moore that voices the main Miles Morales. It's actually the voice actor for Earth 42 Miles, because yes, if you didn't know, he is played by a different actor, which I'm not going to lie, if Shameik Moore keeps crashing out over Haley Steinfeld getting married to Josh Allen and getting called a straight up loser by other actors in Hollywood, we might need this other Miles to take over. But on a serious note, Earth 42 Miles Morales is voiced by Jarrell Jerome. He played the character in Across the Spider-Verse, and he is returning in Beyond the Spider-Verse to continue voicing this character. He recently sat down to do an interview with Decider, and they straight up asked him, "Are you recording your lines for Beyond the Spider-Verse yet?" And he came out and gave us a pretty obvious answer, and he just said, "No, I wish. We haven't started up yet," just confirming that there is no voice recording going on for this movie yet. But he did go on and say a lot of things being figured out, but good things, which is very open-ended and ominous. Even though this news is disappointing, combining it with some other official news we got about a month ago of them confirming the directors of the film, they came out and said, "Hey, these are the directors of the new film. They've been attached to the project for some time. It's not like we're just hiring them now. We've been working on this movie and we're getting things ready to go." So even though those two bits of official news don't really give us an official deadline or release date whatsoever, based on the history of the Spider-Verse films and their production, I think I can really pinpoint almost exactly when we're going to finally see this movie hit theaters. So let me just explain and cook for a second. So obviously the first thing we can look at is just simply the release date difference between Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. It was approximately 5 years in between these films, but we have to remember there was a pandemic that happened in between this time. I'm not gonna lie, just looking at this release date of 2023 and realizing that this summer Across the Spider-Verse is already going to be 2 years old is kind of absolutely insane. I don't know where the time goes. But there's something you have to look at beyond just the 5 year gap in between those movies. You have to look at when things were actually happening. In February 2021, Christopher Miller came out and said that him and Phil Lord, who are the producers on the film, were working on the film's screenplay in February 2021. It's fair to assume that the voice recording probably didn't start until at least the summer of 2021, if not later, because yeah, if you're still writing the screenplay, obviously you're not recording the lines yet. If it started in the summer of 2021, which honestly could be even earlier than it really did, that means it was only 2 years from when they had the completed screenplay and started recording lines until the film's release. But if you go back to Earth 42, Miles' voice actor, Jarrell Jerome's, and his quote, he said a lot of things are being figured out, but good things, which I hear as the script is probably being figured out, but finishing up. There's really no other reason they wouldn't have started voice lines yet if they had the script finished. So I think it's fair to assume that they'll probably start again in the summer of 2025 here, hopefully in a couple months, recording all the voice lines. Which, if we follow the production timeline of Across the Spider-Verse and figure that this is going to be very similar, I think it's fair to say that the movie's going to release in 2027. But stick with me, I think we can actually narrow down the exact release month of the movie too. And that's by simply looking at the current release dates for 2027, which is very scattered. You don't have a lot of names for these films. It's only the huge, big franchise movies that get announced this far in advance. But we do know some big names, and we know it's not going to release between like January and March. That's kind of a dead zone for a lot of new movies. And in May, you have Avengers Secret Wars. I understand they're both Marvel. Yes, one is like Disney Marvel and one Sony Marvel, but I don't think Sony's going to put it anywhere near Avengers Secret Wars. They want it probably like 2 months away at the very minimum away from this film's box office. In June, we're reportedly going to be getting a Pixar film June 18th and an Illumination film in June 29th. So I don't think they're going to also want to compete with two other animated films in the very same month, even though this is going to be very big at the box office no matter what. August is another month that's kind of like right after the summer blockbuster season where a lot of bad movies get dumped. Think like Borderlands and stuff from last year, or movies that are good get there and they don't get good box office numbers because people are going back to school and college. It's just a bad month to release movies, honestly. Then you get September and October. The Batman Part 2 is going to be coming out right around then. You don't want to compete with that other superhero property, which I think would pin this movie right in July of 2027. And even this calendar, I don't know the source of this, it has an untitled Marvel film right there. Obviously, if it's MCU, we're not going to know what that is. But this could literally just be a placeholder for Beyond the Spider-Verse at this point. Because again, I don't know if the MCU itself would want to release a film right after Avengers Secret Wars. And we know probably they're not doing any more of those Sony live action movies like Madam Web and those. I hope we're not getting more of those films in 2027, unless it's Morbius 2, which would be peak. If we look at the box office for the first two films, I know Across the Spider-Verse got a big boost because of how many people liked Into the Spider-Verse. But you have to remember, Across the Spider-Verse was a June summer release and it did way better than Into the Spider-Verse that was a December release. If you force me to make a guess, I would have to say that Beyond the Spider-Verse is releasing in July 2027, and I'm very confident in that prediction, honestly. But this could be really fun. Everybody comment down below a month and year that you think Beyond the Spider-Verse will release in. It will be really fun to come back to this in like 1 to 5 years and see who had the exact right prediction. And I'd really appreciate it if you click down below and watch a video where I go over everything that could ruin Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse.